It was like the world stopped when the power cut out with this sharp, ugly click. My whole house went dark, lights flickering once, twice, then nothing. I'm standing in my kitchen, heart pounding. When I hear it, the piercing beep of my dad's ICU monitor screaming from the back room, like it's begging for help. I sprint in there, and there's my dad, 80 years old. Hooked up to oxygen and vitals machines, his breathing shallow, the screen blank. I've got minutes, maybe less, before things go south. Hey, I'm Jake Sullivan, 42, used to be a firefighter. Now just a guy trying to keep my family's ranch in southern Oregon alive. That ranch, 15 acres of rolling fields and pine trees outside Pine Hollow Estates, was supposed to be my dad's peaceful retirement after a lifetime of saving people. He had a stroke 3 months back, so we turned a spare room into a mini ICU, oxygen tanks, feeding pump, the works. All legal, all permitted. But when I ran outside to figure out why the power died, I saw her, Nancy Wheeler, the HOA queen, standing at my fence line, arms crossed, smirking like she'd just won the lottery. Should have followed the rules, Jake, she called out, her voice dripping with venom. She'd called the utility company, fed them some fake violation about my solar panels, and got them to pull the plug, knowing full well it could kill my dad. I didn't think, didn't yell, I just bolted to the barn. Dialed my buddy Mike, who runs an emergency equipment outfit, and within 10 minutes, the ground was shaking as I backed a 50-ton generator truck right up to the house. You should have seen Nancy's face. That smug grin vanishing as I jumped out, dust swirling, and ran to hook up the cables. The house roared back to life. Lights on, oxygen hissing, Dad's monitor blinking steady again. He took a deep breath, and I let out one too. But Nancy was still out there, screaming about industrial noise, and then I heard sirens closing in. This wasn't over. It was just getting started. Let me take you back. 2 years ago, I left the fire station life. Too many close calls, too much stress, and moved to this ranch in Willow Valley to look after Dad, Tom Sullivan, a retired fire chief who'd spent 40 years running into burning buildings. The ranch was our sanctuary, off the grid with solar panels, a couple of horses, and a vegetable garden. It's not part of Pine Hollow's HOA. My deed's clear. The boundary stops 200 yards before my gate, but that didn't matter to Nancy. She's in her late 50s. Lives in a pristine cul-de-sac where every lawn's identical, and after her second divorce, she crowned herself the HOA's enforcement director. She carried a binder of made-up rules like it was the Constitution, and when she saw my ranch, with its rusty windmill and American flag flapping out front, she decided I was her personal project. It started small, letters about my fence being too rustic, demands to remove my greenhouse because it clashed with community aesthetics. She even sent her brother-in-law, dressed up as an HOA inspector, to measure my mailbox. I ignored it, figuring she'd get bored. But when Dad's stroke hit and we set up the ICU gear, Nancy lost it. She claimed the oxygen tanks were hazardous, said my solar panels made the valley look like a junkyard. I tried talking to her once. Invited her over for coffee to explain Dad's condition. He's a vet, a hero, just needs to heal at home. She didn't even show up. Instead, she started spying, setting up a trail cam aimed at my porch. That's when I knew she wasn't just annoying, she was dangerous. The day she cut the power, I was in town grabbing groceries, and when I got back, the ICU alerts were flashing. Hearing her laugh out there, gloating while my dad's life hung by a thread, lit a fire in me. The generator truck was my first punchback, and when the sheriff's deputies rolled up, called by Nancy, claiming I was endangering the neighborhood, I was ready. I handed over my permits, all stamped and notarized, and the deputy, a guy named Carter, just shook his head at her. Ma'am, this is a medical setup, not a factory. He's in the clear. Nancy's face twisted, and she spat. I'll have that monstrosity towed by tomorrow. Dad's voice, frail but sharp, cut through from the window. Nancy, quit your hollering. She froze, then stormed off. I thought that'd be the end of it. I was wrong. Next morning, I found a note taped to my gate, no signature. Just block letters. You're not untouchable. That truck won't save you. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just Nancy's petty HOA games anymore. It felt like a threat, personal, cold. I called my cousin, Luke, a former Marine turned private security consultant, and he was at the ranch by nightfall, his truck loaded with gear that looked like it belonged in a war zone. Luke's the kind of guy who doesn't smile much but makes you feel like everything's under control. He took one look at the note and said, "Jake, this isn't a neighbor problem. This is a campaign." He set up motion sensors, night vision cameras, even a drone to patrol the perimeter. I didn't sleep that night, just sat by Dad's bed, listening to the oxygen machine hum, wondering how far Nancy would go. She didn't wait long. The next day, I caught her on my doorstep, bold as brass, holding that damn binder. "That truck's a violation," she said, not even looking at me. "Move it, or I'll have the county shut you down." I stepped out, real slow, and said, "Nancy, my land's not your turf. You almost killed my dad. Back off, or I'll make this legal." She smirked, like she knew something I didn't, and said, "You think you're tough, Jake? This valley's mine." She walked away, but that night, my cameras caught two guys in hoodies creeping along the fence, shining flashlights at the generator. They didn't touch it, just studied it, took pictures, then slipped away. Luke reviewed the footage and muttered, "Pros. She's not working alone." By the third day, it got worse. The generator shut off again. No warning, no storm, just silence. I ran out, expecting vandalism, but found the fuel line sliced clean through, like someone knew exactly where to cut. Nancy was on her deck down the hill, sipping tea, watching me scramble. "Told you, Jake," she called out, her voice carrying on the wind. I called Mike, and he sent his heavy-duty rig, a beast he called the Fortress, armored, with locked fuel lines and built-in cameras. It was overkill, but it kept Dad alive. That's when I saw it, a drone, buzzing over my barn, watching every move. I snapped a picture, gave it a mock salute, but inside, I was raging. This wasn't about rules, it was about power, and Nancy wanted me gone. Luke traced the drone's signal to Nancy's address, and we found another note that night. "Stabbed into my fence with a pocket knife. Last chance. Comply or pay." I was done playing defense. Luke had an idea. "Let's make her think she's winning." We posted a fake for sale sign online, Sullivan Ranch, owner leaving due to HOA pressure, and within hours, Nancy was practically dancing, binoculars glued to her face, thinking she'd broken me. But Luke was already moving, hacking her drone's controls, and the next morning, it flew right back to her porch, flashing a message on its screen. "We're watching you." She swung a rake at it. Missed, and her scream echoed across the valley. For the first time, she looked scared. Then came the big blow. A county letter arrived, accusing me of unpermitted medical operations and hazardous equipment, threatening $15,000 daily fines if I didn't shut down Dad's ICU. Luke dug into the filing. It came from an IP tied to Nancy's nephew, Ethan, a wannabe tough guy who'd been trailing her like a shadow. I drove to the county office with Luke, who walked in looking like he could bench press the desk. We laid out everything: drone footage, the notes, Ethan's IP, even audio of Nancy bragging about making the county jump. The official, a nervous guy named Harold, went pale and stammered, This is fraud. I'll kill the complaint." By evening, the fines were gone, but Nancy wasn't. She upped the ante. Parking a bulldozer at my property line, Pine Hollow HOA's logo slapped on the side. She pulled up in her SUV, all smiles, and said, "Jake, we're expanding the community. Your ranch is in the way. Sell now, or we'll bury you in legal fees." That's when it hit me. This was never about aesthetics or rules. She wanted my land for her HOA's McMansion empire, a legacy to cement her as the valley's queen. I leaned in, voice low, and said, "You'll have to kill me first." She laughed, but it was hollow, and I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes. Luke had been working behind the scenes, filing papers to make the ranch a protected conservation site, citing its history as a 19th-century settler homestead. He'd even pulled strings with a federal contact to fast-track it. But before we could celebrate, Nancy struck again. Late that night, an explosion rocked the east fence, a crude bomb made from firecrackers and gasoline. Four guys, Ethan among them, ran through the gap, trying to drag off a battery pack from the fortress. Luke fired a warning shot into the sky, and they scattered, but not before my cameras caught every face. We called the sheriff, and this time, a federal marshal showed up, Agent Harper. A no-nonsense woman who took one look at the footage and said, "This is organized crime, not an HOA spat." Harper marched to Nancy's house, and I watched from my porch as she and Ethan were cuffed. Nancy screaming, "This is my valley. You can't touch me." Her HOA cronies were rounded up too, charged with everything from arson to conspiracy. The bulldozer vanished by mornings. The drone stopped flying, and the valley went quiet. Neighbors I'd never spoken to started showing up, Old Man Harris with a pie, a nurse named Clara offering to check on Dad. They'd been scared of Nancy too, but now they were free. A week later, Harper handed me a document. The Sullivan Ranch was now a federally protected historical site, untouchable by developers or HOAs. I nailed the plaque to my gate, right where Nancy's notes used to be. But then, a letter appeared, slipped under my barn door. You won the land, but not the war. No signature, just a chill that made me call Luke back. He brought in a radar tech, and we scanned the fields, expecting nothing, until we hit something behind the old well. A metal box, buried deep, rusted shut. Inside were papers from 1876, signed by my great-great-grandfather, claiming this land as the Sullivan Settlement. A note read, "This is our blood's home. Let no man steal it." I took it to the county, and by week's end, the ranch wasn't just protected, it was a state landmark, forever ours. Then came the kicker. A pickup rolled up one evening, and a woman stepped out, maybe 30, clutching a photo. "I'm Emily," she said, voice shaky. "I think I'm your cousin." She showed me a picture of Dad, young, with a sister I never knew he had. "My mom passed last year," she said. "She left this, said to find you." Dad saw her, and his eyes lit up, tears falling as he whispered, "You're the spitting image of her." We sat up all night, piecing together a family I thought was gone. That weekend, we threw a barbecue. Neighbors, Mike, Harper, even Carter the deputy. Kids ran through the fields. Dad told stories from his firehouse days, and a banner hung over the barn, Sullivan Ranch, built on grit. As the sun sank, painting the sky gold, I looked out at the land my family had fought for since the 1800s. Nancy thought she could break us, but she didn't know Sullivans. We don't bend, we don't run, we stand, and we rebuild. So, what's the real cost of a fight like this? Was Nancy just a power-hungry bully, or was she a pawn for something bigger? Have you ever had to stare down someone trying to take what's yours? Drop your story in the comments. I'm reading every one. Hit subscribe if you're with me on this, and let's talk. Who's the Nancy in your world, and how do you make them back down?